So, I did say that I was going to do one of these again once I had some news. Well, it's been about 3 months and I thought I'd wait until it had been good news, which I'm happy to say it is. Just a quick recap. I was told that my prostate cancer after 8 years had now started to spread. My PSA went up to 11.7 and it had gone to my lung, and I have 2 tumours there. So they started treatment 3 months ago. I have an injection, and I've had 2 of these now, which is androgen deprivation therapy. I also have enzalutamide, which is a hormone therapy for men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, so advanced prostate cancer. And it's usually offered to men whose prostate cancer stops responding to other types of chemo or hormone treatment. Now, the way it works is by blocking the effect of the hormone testosterone, specifically on the prostate cancer cells. And it's used to help them live a longer life, and it can also help to treat and delay the symptoms such as pain and bone problems. A third treatment I'm going under is a trial drug, and I think we've established that I'm actually having the drug and not the placebo, because I've had side effects where no one else on the trial has so far. And when they've talked about it, they've said, oh, this drug shouldn't normally affect you like this. So I think even the guys who are not supposed to know now know. Now, this drug is called pembrolizumab, and this is an immunotherapy in the chemotherapy class. And this is where I have to be really careful about what I've said. If you go back to my very, very first video, which is the introduction to my journey with prostate cancer, I began by saying that although I do this with a sense of humour, which is my way of dealing with things, I realise how horrible and insidious this disease is, having lost one of my close friends and seeing him go through this. I've always been damn lucky, and it seems at the moment I'm still very, very fortunate. However, whenever you put something else on the internet, there is a possibility that somebody will take offence. And again, we all have our own battles. My favourite uncle, in that he has also got prostate cancer, and although he hasn't had to have removal, he's had radiotherapy. He always says how worried he is for me. And when we talk about things, and he says about, oh yes, but it's far worse for you, Mickey. Well, it's not a competition. Our own struggle is our own struggle. I've seen what he's been going through mentally, and I'm glad I managed to cope with it the way I did. I'm reminded of that saying, never look down on somebody unless you're offering them a hand up. So please, if I cause offence, it is never meant. I always put these on here because I hope that it allows other people to see a process that they might go through, and to know that there is hope, and to help them get their head around things. So with that in mind, I'll tell you what's been going on with me. My journey with this has been without major issue, but enough to knock me sideways. I've been fit and healthy for most of my life, and now I find that I'm prevented from doing things. It may only be minor inconveniences to some, but to me it's a big change. The drugs I'm having have seemed to have some weird side effects, and I think most of the guys who've been through the hormone treatment will know that the hot flushes they have are a very, very new experience, and one minute you're fine, and the next minute somebody's thrown a bucket of water over your head. And I know there'll be a lot of menopausal ladies saying, welcome to our world. But it's new for me. My treatment is, once every 3 months I have the ADT injection. I have the enzalutamide every single day, and every 3 weeks I go in for my pembrolizumab. Now, it's a medical trial, and it's definitely a case of trial and error. And after my first couple of cycles, I found that my body had a reaction. I broke out in a rash all over my body, and I had headaches that floored me for 3 days, and I had to go into the hospital. They did tests and told me that one of my liver counts was not looking good. And after further investigation, they decided to take me off the trial drug for a week, put me on some steroids, and then see what the result was then. The liver count, they said, should have been around about, I think it was 72, and it was 230. And after the steroids, it came back to 68, so I'm back on the trial drugs. On to the next cycle, and no rash, but the headaches started again. 3 days of absolutely pounding headaches, putting me to bed and finding that no over-the-counter drugs were going to shift it. Once again, taken into the hospital, and they decided I need to have a brain scan. Having found everything is intact, they decided to continue with the drugs. And I'm now on cycle 5, and everything seems to be running smoothish. I tend to get Uber cabs to save on the stress of driving through London and searching for expensive parking. However, that comes with its own trials and tribulations. One driver nudged a cyclist, almost knocking him off, so our journey was interrupted with a slight civil argument, shall we say, and then I had to act as counsellor for the driver, telling him it was the start of the day, no one was injured, and he had the rest of the day to make customers like me happy. And then another driver, when he heard I used to teach people on motorbikes, then started asking me lots of highway code questions as we approached traffic signs. Well, what about that one? What does that say? Oh, so you can do that on a motorbike, but I can't. Oh, motorbike can do that. Oh, what about if I was in my car? No, I mean, I wondered if he had a licence. Luckily, I did make it to the hospital. Also, I was due to go to Spain with my friend Phil for a couple of days to just have a break, but 4 hours before the flight, I was passing blood in my urine. So on this occasion, they suggested I go straight to A&E, which I did at St George's in Tooting. They were once again worried about my liver function, but they also thought they might have a blood clot, and as such, flying would be out of the question. They told me it's incredible how many people still go on flights when the doctors have said you shouldn't do it, and how many phone calls they get from abroad from some A&E department. They did some blood tests, did a urine test, and decided that the immunotherapy sometimes has an effect on other parts, and that they think it was a urinary tract infection that had been caused from the immunotherapy. Now, the doctor did say he was glad I was being sensible about it, and I did say, yep, Spain's not going anywhere, so better safe than sorry. So, going back to my 3 monthly checkup, having had these ups and downs, the side effects that I've had encountered, and again, we're all different, but these may be helpful to some. 1, I felt a slight loss of balance and cramping in my calves, so I don't trust myself to ride my motorbike, which I've been doing for 41 years, and so I don't do my job of teaching on them anymore. It's a bit of a loss, but my bike sits outside undercover, and I do look forward to a day when I might maybe go on it again. 2, hot flashes. Started as an absolute torrent, but seem to have subsided. They're still quite frequent, but they're much more manageable, and only when I push myself do they come back in full force. It seems to come on when I have the first ADT treatment, the 3 monthly jab. And so I've asked them if maybe I can go on a monthly jab and see if that stops that and makes my headaches go as well. I've also managed to maintain some teaching in Taekwondo, but I did wonder how a new student felt when I began teaching just a couple of very basic moves, but had to wipe my head with my towel every couple of minutes. I mean, he must have thought this guy needs to get fit. And number 3, the fatigue is definitely something to try and manage. It's very easy to give into it and sit on the sofa with a cat and watch a good film, but I've learned, especially over the last few weeks, the best thing is to push through it. Again, this works for me and it may not for other people, but I go back to one of the things from a previous video. My old drama teacher, Simon Carter, said, use, not abuse. There are 2 courses you can use experiences in life. You can say, oh, woe is me, or you can use it to go forward. So my treadmill is always very handy on days when I'm feeling rather tired. I sometimes just do a 15 to 20 minute fast-paced walk, sometimes a tiny jog. I mean, the torrents of sweat can pour down as much as they like, and I can jump into the shower. I mean, sometimes it works, it shifts the fatigue, and other times it just makes me more knackered. But then I curl up with the cat, and at least I've done some exercise, my body has been moving. This last Sunday we were invited over to family members as they bought a new pizza oven and were keen to try it out. I woke in the morning feeling like crap, and I needed to sleep all day, but thought about what I would have been missing out on. So I got driven there, and although dozy, sat in a chair and listened to the banter and laughter, and with the occasional nephew and niece coming and sitting on my lap, eating pizza, and knowing it was a much better decision. Besides side effects, I've had some good news. My first scans have shown a significant reduction in the 2 tumours, and show no signs of any other spread in my body. The doctor seemed particularly happy, which is always a good sign. I did ask if they could quantify this. I mean, before they told me about my PSA, which had gone up to 11.7 and had reduced to 0.8 after the start of the drugs and have now been reduced even further to 0.04. The original tumours went from 12 millimetres to 21 millimetres before the second mass was discovered, which was apparently shining bright as a star. But they said that looking at the radiologist's notes, all they had said was significant reduction. And he explained that normally in his experience, if they had seen a reduction of 20%, they would say stable. So significant and responding well to treatment is a great result. Sometimes it's not worth delving too far and accepting the information you have right at hand. I have a friend in America now who will sometimes call and we discuss where we are with our treatments. I will always talk about the present day and how I'm feeling, and that's what counts. Am I feeling good today? If you are, you're in a lucky position, as none of us know what tomorrow brings. Lastly, this Friday, whilst I was waiting for a cab to take me home, I overheard snippets of a conversation. It was something like out of a comedy sketch, with an elderly lady, obviously of a very posh upbringing, and her friend from school. And they were sitting close by in the reception area of the hospital. And one was saying, of course, she wanted him as well, and took him to India to see the Taj Mahal. Well, halfway down the Ganges, she tried to poison him, and that's when he came back to me. The other woman responded with, fascinating, fascinating. And a few sentences later, she spoke of her father during the war and something to do with being Kitchener's right-hand man. And again, the response came, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And then the pièce de résistance, Daddy's 94 and bisexual. And I nearly choked on my tea, hoping my cab would soon come. And just as I was about to leave, Daddy turned up, a well-suited, hunched man around 94, and I thought, I know a little bit about you. And this is the thing, we only find little snippets of people's lives. We don't know what's going on underneath. We don't know how our words and actions affect each other. I try to always be considerate, and I try to always be supportive, and I forget that it's been 8 years that I've said how I appreciate my situation compared to others. Medical science is amazing, doubling maybe every 5 years. So survive 5 years and there's more in that medicine cabinet. As always, I hope this has been helpful and raised a bit of a laugh, as well as positivity. I now have 1 year and 9 months to go with this trial, so I'm sure I'll hear lots more stories of poison down the Ganges. I'll let you know.